What is going on, guys? Joey Franzel here at Flex Training Systems, and today we're going to be talking about if you should do singles year round. I get this question a lot, and someone actually recently asked it in the Q&A that I recently did on Instagram. So I said, this is um, pretty good question. A lot of this comes from, I guess, you guys follow me in the team. You guys see that we do a lot of singles, so I'm going to kind of break it down. Before we get into the video, I want to say happy birthday to Russ. I think you turned 25 today. We appreciate you. I'm saying we out here getting better. I hope you have a great day. And yeah. Alrighty. So pros. Should you do singles year round? I'm gonna kind of break this down into pros and cons, and then at the end I'm gonna try to provide you with an answer. If you have a coach and they implement singles year round, which obviously if you guys work with me, then many of you will already have this in there, then this can help you better understand what you want from your singles. What are you trying to get out of your singles? Why are you doing them? Things that you should be looking for, and stuff like that. So, some pros for doing singles year round. First reason is better tech refinement and practice. The more often that you do something in a competition style, right? So, principle of specificity, the closer you get to whatever it is that you're going to be doing in competition, you could argue that you're going to be getting more bang for your buck from that thing. You can practice your technique. Um, if you're a newer lifter, this is like very low on the priority list, but I'll get into that when we get into the cons. But yeah, but just basically just better technique refinement. You can see where there's flaws in your technique. I would say hitting a single around RPE 7 to 8 is going to be extremely valuable in determining how good your technique is, what things you need to adjust and stuff like that. Also, meet day video is extremely useful, as that is the actual competition. So one reason for keeping your singles in year round, you're going to have better technique refinement, and it's not going to feel super heavy on your CNS and quotations. I don't even know if it's actually your CNS or what, but it does feel heavier. Um, you can run a normal volume block with and without singles. If you take the singles out and then you add them back in, you might be strong. You might be able to hit something good. It's just going to feel hard, and for a lot of people mentally, that's a problem. So you may want to keep those in there. Um, so next reason, you're more aware of your strength just overall. So if you have 12 weeks of singles, you have plenty of data points, you have plenty of experience, kind of taking those weights, seeing where you're at, and all of this stuff just kind of adds in to finding a better, like creating a better meet day plan, right? So if you have your singles year round, you should have, and you're objective with yourself and you're not lying to yourself, you should be very confident in determining your numbers for meet day and things like that. And then you can kind of adjust based on whether or not you're cutting, if you're not cutting at all, if you're eating into the meat or whatever. So this next one, I'm not entirely 100% sure, but it could be a potential driving force in terms of progress. Aside from the sort of like indirect things that you're gonna get, like better technique and stuff like that, something about taking a heavy single. Um, I don't think it's that necessarily muscle inducing, but just I feel like it helps a lot of people just kind of prime their technique for their volume sets that's coming up, so that when you do hit your volume, you're already kind of in the groove of taking a heavy competition single. Um, I do think everything has to come together. I don't think the actual single itself, if you take a training day and you just take out the volume and you're just doing the single, you're not going to make any progress from that. You're not going to get anywhere. You're simply not doing enough to sort of justify. You're not telling your body to build any muscle. You're not creating any sort of demand to be stronger. I do think when you get super strong, you can get some sort of um, it's just really hard for me to say that you're getting hypertrophy from that single. I really don't think we are. I think it's the combination of the single, and then the just kind of reinforcing those patterns and just hammering those muscles with the back down sets that's really going to help you, you know, just kind of show your potential. Um, I like to think of the singles as more of we're practicing the powerlifting movement, and then we're using our back down sets and our accessories to kind of build the muscles associated with that lift in the plane of motion, the same plane of motion of the competition lift. So, um, I do think singles can be very valuable in that sense, but I don't think the single itself is not the thing that's making you grow bigger muscles at all. In some cases it's the least valuable part of the workout, in my opinion. And when we're speaking strictly from a hypertrophy standpoint. Um, I think I already covered it. Good idea of where you are for the day and determining your volume sets. It's a good indicator of fatigue, right? So if you come into the week, let's say you have singles on Mondays and Fridays, RP 7 to 8, maybe RP 7, whatever. Judging based on how those singles move, you can have a very clear indication of, okay, how fatigued am I for the day? What should I pick for my first volume set and things like that. I also have on here bang for your buck, meaning you're gonna get like if you guys watched Russ's last video, I believe it was, he came in, he hit a big single, and then he had to leave. So he is stimulating some muscle protein synthesis, practicing the lift. Um, you know, and then he had to skip his volume that day. It's better than nothing, right? So if you have to pick, if you're like, okay, I have no time, at least you're going to keep your form, at least you're going to keep your technique from getting the practice with that heavier lift. Um, and then I think one of the last points I have on here is that it can prime you for your volume work, right? So uh, I know there's some data to back this up. I don't know specifically from where, but I know that if you just try this yourself, you go into the gym and you hit a single at 8, single at 9, right? And then you lift a lighter single right after that. That lighter single is gonna feel lighter, like way lighter than when you were warming up, right? Why is that? It's almost like it's just like muscular recruitment. Like let's say you have like 100 soldiers to fight a certain threat, right? And maybe for the only time you ever use all 100 of them is if you're going all out, right? All out RPE 10. So you hit your single at 8, maybe you only need 80 of those soldiers, right? But now 80 of those soldiers are awake and they're ready to go, they're ready to fight, right? And then you pull your weights down and you're hitting, I don't know, 10, 15% less than that single at 8. You still have those 80 soldiers to help you fight this lesser threat now, so it feels a lot easier. I don't even know if that was a good analogy. That's just an analogy that I always think about. Like you're bringing more guns to the fight than you need for the back down sets whenever you sort of call for more muscular recruitment, I guess you could say. So that's pretty much all I have for pros. I mean, I'm sure there's more, but just made this list in like 5 seconds. So, cons. We're gonna talk about cons. So, what are the bad things about taking singles all the time? It's really bad for new, inexperienced lifters that have no coach, especially if if you look at someone and you can just tell visually, like, hey, this lifter, they're new at lifting. They're very shaky when they walk things out. Their technique is not fully solidified yet. They have not made those physiological adaptations aside from just building muscle that come from lifting heavy weights, right? Like reinforcing your bones and just seeing. I mean, there's literally, I remember seeing in a magazine years ago, they did an X-ray of some guy's knee, like it was like a 10-month difference of heavy lifting, and just like how the bones grew and everything like that. I think that plays a big role in how some people, when they lift over time, your body just kind of makes adaptations, physiological adaptations to help you lift heavier, right? The sockets of your hip sort of engulf the ball of the femur a certain way. Just everywhere your body becomes just better suited for lifting heavier weights. And I think that plays a big role in just having better technique. If you see a newer lifter, they have no muscle on them, they're lifting very light weights and they're trying to go heavy, they're doing it backwards. They literally need to start from the ground up. That's why I think bodybuilding is very useful. You can do bodybuilding stuff with powerlifting stuff, and you can kind of complete the organism. I think the most important thing is, for anyone that hasn't practiced a competition lift, is you need to fill out the lifter, right? You need to just make sure you have no weaknesses, fill everything around all around, and make sure that you're solid. You're just a complete solid lifter that doesn't have weaknesses. Then you can really start to, smash those singles. Granted, there are some people that they just don't hold a lot of muscle, but they're very technically proficient. Everybody's different. That's why it's nice to have a coach to kind of have an eye on this stuff and kind of guide you in the right direction. But if you're like 6 feet tall, 180 pounds, you have no business taking heavy squat singles. You know what I mean? Literally no business. There's so many other better things you could be doing with your time. So, um, the next con that I have written down here is that it could compromise your volume sets. I don't necessarily know if this is a for sure thing or if this is a mental thing, but I've had plenty of people tell me, if I take a heavy single, it just kind of kills me for my back downs. I don't really know why that is. It shouldn't happen. I would say for most people, it's really the opposite effect. Some people, I mean, I don't know if it's in their head or maybe they tax their core too much on a heavier single or what. But if you go too heavy on your single and you just go all out grinder, kill yourself, uh, you might you might not have it for your back downs. It might compromise your back downs a little bit. I would say that if you're taking a heavier single, um, you should be able to get at least one or two solid good volume sets without having to drop the weight too much. Um, but if it's, I have had instances, especially on deadlifts, where I have a lifter take a single and they just don't have it for the back downs for whatever reason. So I would rather them not do the single, have a lift more weight with their volume, right? Because that's where we're going to get most of our value in terms of building the lift. And then we can bring the singles in at another time. So if you're one of those people, maybe it's not for you. So potential injury is the next cause on here. Obviously, if you don't know what you're doing, if you can't stick to RPE, if you're somebody that's very just you can't take a single because you're gonna max out, don't do it. It's literally not worth it. You need to know what you're doing when you're taking these singles, otherwise you're gonna end up hurting yourself. But I do believe that if you're taking a single, true RPE 6 to 8, on bench press you can get away with 9s here and there. You should be fine. You should be able to do those all the time. It's not gonna kill you. But like I said, it depends on the person. And I do think singles are a very mental thing. This carries right into my next line here. I have, you're mentally getting screwed over because you're emotionally attached to how you do in the gym, and then that kind of screws with your mindset and ruins your week. If you know that you're a mental lifter, if you're an overthinker, if you're worried about like, oh, I didn't have a good single today, I guess that's just what I am now. I'm just my entire existence is defined by this bad single. Then you shouldn't do them because it's clearly going to bleed into your other lifts, and it's just not something that's worth it. Like I said, it is a nice thing to do, but it is certainly by no means the only way to go about things. So, yeah, and then the last reason I have on here is, just ingraining bad habits, right? Um, if you have bad technique and you're hitting heavier singles than you need to, and you're always hitting those heavy singles with bad form, you're going to kind of ingrain that bad habit. And let me tell you guys, it is a fucking bitch to get out of. To get out of that little sort of if you have a bad habit that's just stuck into your lifting, and you're not someone that can like learn new cues and apply them, it is very, very rough. It's very rough. It's just going to be a pain to kind of relearn how to lift. So it's very important that you're sort of learning this correctly on the way up and not ingraining those bad habits, so that way you don't end up in a situation where you just have this like super inefficient single now, and competition lift, and it's like really holding you back once you get to a certain level. So yeah, so coming back to the first question, can you do singles year round? I think yes. I think RPE 8, RPE 7, RPE 6, depending on what you can tolerate. And the timing of, I mean, there's so much more context that goes into this. That's why it's good to have someone like plan it out and structure it for you. But I think you can absolutely do it. I think if you're doing true RPE, 6s and 7s, to be safe, you're gonna be fine. That's, you know, a single at 6 is something you can rep out. You're gonna be absolutely fine. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to take that year round. For whatever reason, people think that taking a single means maxing out. Oh, you shouldn't take singles. You shouldn't take singles. No, context is everything. You just don't know how to control yourself if that's the case. Um, it, Taking a single and maxing out should I would like for people to just in their brains like separate the two because they're absolutely not the same. Um, and if you're taking what you have every day and you're sticking with an RPE, then there's no reason for you ever to fail because you're not gonna unless someone's putting down at 10. I don't even remember the last time I put at 10. I think I've maybe done it twice in the last 6 years. Have I put a 10 down? Maybe I put the 10 down to get it through someone's head, like, hey, this is what I want from you, on like an AMRAP or something. But you're never gonna see. I really don't see 10s on paper ever, nor do I put them out. So. But yeah, guys, I hope that was useful for you. Like I said, I mean, singles are nice, but they're certainly not everything. If you are someone that can tolerate them and mentally you know how to use them correctly, I think it can be an amazing tool to gain a lot of ground and just kind of um, refine things and make sure that you're on point year round. As nationals gets more competitive, as powerlifting gets more competitive, I don't think we have. I don't think we can afford. People can afford to just like forget how to lift and just completely get away from the comp lift anymore. I think those days are kind of old. I'm sure there's gonna be a couple people here and there that still do it, but it's just like if you can stay in shape, if you can stay refined year round, you're gonna be way farther ahead and do a lot better than people who are just kind of, going on vacation and chilling and just not practicing the comp stuff. Um, but yeah, yeah, guys, I hope you're able to take something away from this video. Let me get a stay in the pocket in the comments down below. We are in the month of December, which is, I like to think of it as the month of giving, right? Tell people that you appreciate them. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I hope you're able to take something away from this, and I will talk to you in the next one. Peace.